Number 1. Windows 1.0, 1985. Alright, so picture this. It's 1985. Hair is big, music is synth, and computers are basically digital typewriters that hate you. To open a program, you had to type weird commands like win or cd/DOS into a black screen called MS-DOS. Mrs. Semicolon? Enjoy your error message. Microsoft said, nah, let's put a pretty face on this nightmare. Enter Windows 1.0. It wasn't an operating system. It was a fancy jacket on top of MS-DOS. You could finally click icons instead of typing arcane spells. But don't get too excited. The windows were tiled, locked side by side like stubborn refrigerator magnets. No overlapping, no minimize, no maximize. You had Paint, a calculator, and a game called Reversey. That's it. Also, you needed a mouse. In 1985, a mouse was as weird as seeing someone vape, and the blue screen of death already existed? Oh yeah, Windows 1.0 would crash and spew random letters and beeps like a robot having a seizure. Still, it was a start. Number 2. Windows 2.0, 1987. 2 years later, Microsoft dropped Windows 2.0. The big news? Windows could finally overlap. You could put an Excel spreadsheet on top of a Word document. Office workers lost their minds, in a good way. But Apple lost their minds in a bad way. They sued Microsoft, claiming the overlapping windows ripped off the Macintosh interface. Here's the juicy part. Apple had actually asked Microsoft to make Word and Excel for the Mac, so Microsoft had already seen the code and gotten a license to use some of those ideas. The judge said, sorry, Apple, you gave them permission. Microsoft won, and that's why your Windows overlap today without a lawyer knocking on your door. Also, Windows 2.0 still ran on top of MS-DOS, but now it had keyboard shortcuts. Fancy.
Number 3. Windows 3.0 and 3.1, 1990 to 1992. Windows 3.0 was the first version that made people actually want a PC. Why? Colors. A full 16-color interface. It looked like a rainbow threw up on your monitor, but in a good way. Plus, Intel's 386 processor had just come out, so Windows could now run beefy programs like CorelDRAW and handle multiple apps at once without crying. 2 years later, Windows 3.1 gave us the drag and drop feature. Before that, moving a file was like performing surgery. Copy, paste, delete. Now, just grab the file with your mouse and yeet it into a folder. This was huge. Regular families started buying PCs because grandma could finally organize her recipes without a computer science degree. Also, 3.1 was way more stable. Still crashed, but less often. Number 4. Windows 95. August 24th, 1995. The day the world lost its mind over a start button. Windows 95 wasn't just an update, it was a cultural event. The Rolling Stones' Start Me Up played in commercials. People lined up at midnight like it was an iPhone launch. And honestly, it earned the hype. For the first time, you had a taskbar and a start menu. Everything you needed was one click away. Also, plug and play. You plug in a printer, and a computer just knows. Before Windows 95, you had to install drivers manually using floppy disks and prayer. Another first, Internet Explorer. It was buggy and crashed all the time, but it opened the door to the World Wide Web. Oh, and the interface was 32-bit, not 16-bit. Translation? Faster, smoother, and way less prone to random freakouts.
Number 5. Windows 98. 1998 brought Windows 98. Think of it as Windows 95 on steroids. Internet Explorer still crashed, but less often. The real hero? USB support. Before USB, every device had its own weird port. Serial, parallel, PS2, you name it. Windows 98 said one connector to rule them all. Mice, keyboards, scanners, all could use the same USB port. Also, dual monitor support. Gamers and stock traders could finally have 2 screens side by side. But here's the legendary fail. Bill Gates did a live demo on CNN. He plugged in a scanner and boom, blue screen of death on live TV. Bill just smiled awkwardly. That's Windows 98 in a nutshell. Great ideas, terrible execution. Number 6. Windows ME 2000. Oh boy, Windows Millennium Edition. If Windows 98 was clumsy, ME was a drunk uncle at a wedding. It came out in 2000 and is widely considered the worst Windows ever. Why? Instability. You'd open a program and the whole computer would freeze or crash for no reason. It did introduce System Restore, a feature that lets you roll back your PC to an earlier time if an update breaks everything. Cool, right? Except System Restore itself often failed. So you'd try to fix your computer and the fix would break. People called it Windows Mistake Edition. It was so bad that many users skipped it and stuck with Windows 98 until XP arrived.
Number 7. Windows XP 2001. Then came the savior. Windows XP dropped in 2001 and immediately became legend. Why? First, it finally ditched the ancient MS-DOS foundation for the Windows NT kernel. That means way more stability. No more random crashes when you breathed on a keyboard. The interface got a colorful, friendly makeover. The famous green start button and blue taskbar. Startup time was faster. Plug and play actually worked. And built-in CD burning? Game changer. You could burn your own mix CDs without buying Nero software. XP was so good that people refused to upgrade for over a decade. Microsoft had to literally kill support in 2014 to force people off it. That's how you know you made a masterpiece. Number 8. Windows Vista, 2007. Vista. Oh, Vista. Microsoft wanted to follow XP with something shiny. They added Aero Glass, transparent window borders, and fancy 3D animations. They also added User Account Control, UAC, which asks for permission before any program makes system changes. Great for security, terrible for sanity. UAC would pop up if you so much as sneezed. And Aero was so resource hungry that most computers at the time couldn't run it without turning into a slideshow. People hated Vista so much that many downgraded back to XP. It's like getting a Ferrari that breaks down every mile. Beautiful, but useless. Number 9. Windows 7, 2009. After Vista's disaster, Microsoft needed a win. Windows 7 was that win. It took everything good from Vista, the Aero look, the security, and fixed the lag. It ran smoothly on older hardware. Plus, it added the taskbar previews. Hover over an icon and see a tiny window, a search bar that actually found your stuff instantly, and a killer feature called Snap. Drag a window to the left edge and it snaps to half the screen. Drag another to the right, boom, side by side. Perfect for writing an essay while watching YouTube tutorials. Windows 7 became the most used OS for years. Even after Windows 8 came out, people clung to 7 like a security blanket. Number 10. Windows 8 and 8.1, 2012 to 2013. Then Microsoft got weird. Windows 8 was designed for tablets. They killed the Start menu and replaced it with a full-screen Start screen, full of live tiles showing weather, news, and calendar. For touchscreens, cool. For mouse and keyboard users, awkward as hell. You had to scroll horizontally to find your apps. People revolted. So Microsoft scrambled and released Windows 8.1 a year later, which brought back a Start button, but still a tile screen. Too little, too late. Windows 8 is remembered as the version where Microsoft tried to force a future nobody asked for. Number 11. Windows 10, 2015. Windows 10 tried to please everyone. It brought back the classic Start menu, but stuffed it with live tiles. It added virtual desktops, like having multiple monitors without the hardware, and Task View to see all open windows. But it also introduced forced updates. Your computer would restart in the middle of a game or a work presentation. And those update screens? Working on updates, 37% complete. Please don't turn off your PC. That blue screen became a meme. Microsoft claimed Windows 10 would be the last version of Windows, with continuous updates forever. Then in 2025, they announced end of support. So much for forever. Number 12. Windows 11, 2021. And here we are. Windows 11 looks like Windows 10, but with a centered Start menu, like a Mac. It has snap layouts. Hover over the Maximize button, and you get grid options to arrange windows perfectly. Great for productivity. File Explorer finally got tops, so you don't have 10 separate windows open. But honestly, under the hood, it's Windows 10 with a facelift. As of 2024, most people still used Windows 10. Windows 11 requires newer hardware, TPM 2.0 chip, which left millions of PCs behind. So it's not bad, but it's not revolutionary. Microsoft played it safe. And you know what? After Vista and Windows 8, safe isn't the worst idea.